Hey, what's going on, y'all? My name is Jeremy King, and this is the Cubicle Rebellion podcast, clocking in with you once again. It's been a little while. It's been a long time since I left you. But yeah, that was a little shout out to Timberland, in case you didn't know. So anyway, I kind of wanted to continue on with where I left off last time. Feeling a little rusty, so excuse me, but the last podcast I talked about stuff I'm still trying to learn, but think you should know. And the idea that particular episode was to basically summarize books that I've read, and into 2 or 3 points that can be helpful to you. And I'm just gonna try to continue that on today, but it's gonna be a little different because so let me tell you what happened. So I was in preparing for like this series or the pseudo series that I'm doing. I started flipping through a lot of my books, going through a lot of my archives and whatnot, because I'm a pretty voracious reader, a curious person. So I was going through all that stuff, and I found myself, I don't know how I got here, but I Googled something, and I found a website that, let me pull it up. It's called 4-Minute Books, 4minutebooks.com. And basically the site was essentially what I'm trying to do. It's literally the guy who writes these little quick synopsis of these books, very popular books. Most of them, well, not most of them, but some of these I've read already. And so when I saw it, I was like, oh, wow. Okay, there's already a guy doing this. Where would I go from here? So I saw that, and I looked at the book that, or at least some of the books that I was about to summarize, and he had already did it. So I was thinking about it, and I was like, how should I approach this? So what I'm going to do is basically shout him out, and kind of give my summary of his summaries. And like I said, and I think this first book that I'm going to do is actually kind of a perfect, it's kind of meta, but it's a perfect example of what, of how this all came about, but also what I'm trying to essentially do. And it's a book that's very near and dear to my heart, which is I love. It's called Still Like an Artist. It's by Austin Kleon, and it's a really small book. It's got half of it is pictures and drawings, but not the whole goal, but part of the goal of this podcast is to really be able to help creative people who work 9 to 5s, essentially kind of get some value out of this podcast. And I mean, every now and then I'll just be goofing off and talking to my buddies and friends, and maybe even some coworkers, or anything to kind of help you get through your day, because I know how it is. But I do want to give you something that's valuable and meaningful, especially for creative people who have a dream outside of their 9 to 5 framework, or who are working on a side hustle, or that's really kind of my market. That's really kind of, those people are my heart. So I really do get where y'all are coming from. So anyway, let me kind of break down what he said, and then I'll kind of put my spin on some of these. So the idea of this book, Still Like an Artist, is that no one is original, and that everyone is influenced by someone. All right. So he breaks down 3 favorite lessons of his, and I'll kind of add my spin on it. But the first one was, you'll basically find your own style where you fail to imitate your idols. And again, this is all out. This is all free. This is you can actually look this up on his site and download his ebook and all that. But I just wanted to share this with y'all because this is really good. You'll find your own style where you fail to imitate your heroes or your idols. So one part that I kind of pulled from that was, everybody's influenced by somebody. Like, nothing is completely, totally, uniquely original. But there's a way to be unique in spite of that, in a way. And one thing that Austin mentions in the book is climbing your own family tree. So the family tree, you think about a natural family tree, a natural genealogy, right? You got your mom, your dad, grandpa, grandma, you know, and you keep going up the line. Well, I kind of look at it like every creative person or artist has to follow their own creative family tree, a creative lineage or genealogy, almost. Like when people go to ancestry.com, you know, and they kind of want to know, like, you know, I'm part Cherokee, I'm part this, I'm part that. And I feel like there's a creative version of that, you know, and I think that can definitely help inform whatever projects you're working on, especially if you're having a hard time trying to do what you do or trying to create something, or you need some inspiration. You got to keep yourself surrounded by things that stimulate your mind, people that stimulate your mind, music, documentaries, and any and everything. So you have to keep that well full. So yeah, seeing yourself as part of a creative lineage is really valuable. You know, you don't get to pick your family, but you can pick your friends, music, books, movies, etc. You can pick who you're drawn to for whatever reason. Like for me, right? So just to use myself as an example, I went to school for recording arts and engineering, audio engineering, and like, you know, Lauryn Hill was a big influence on my life. Stevie Wonder, Kanye, D'Angelo, just different types of artists have informed how I approached music. And this could be for any profession that you have, any creative endeavor that you have. So like whether you're an esthetician or a hairdresser or you know, a musician or a video game designer, a graphic designer, a real estate guy or whatever, you know, you gotta be pulling from somebody. You know, there's somebody that's doing it in a way that's like, I kind of like that. I kind of like, I need to pull that thread from them, and then pull that other thread from this other person, and then pull that other thread. And once you get like 9 or 10 threads, it can kind of snowball, and then it turns into you in a way. You know, when you're when you're almost in a way, when you're copying your heroes or people who influenced you, you kind of find yourself when you fail to be them. So, you know, you trying to imitate. I think Ray Charles in that movie Ray, where there was a scene I think where somebody came up to him and was like, I think he did impressions for a long time of other singers that he liked, and you know, he could nail the impression, but then I think somebody came up to him and was like, yeah, that's all well and good, but like, what are you? What do you sound like? You know, and I think at some point where you fail to be like your hero, that's where you come in at. Knowingly or unknowingly, intentionally or unintentionally, it just happens, you know. But it all kind of starts with mimicking and imitating, and then it kind of it evolves. You know, you start becoming a remix of that person. So, so just take that. That's the first kind of point that I want y'all to kind of. Let me see if there's anything else I want to add to that. Oh, so he says, yeah, so like when you're starting out, like especially, you know, this could be helpful because it's hard to come up with ideas. Sometimes it's just hard to come up with ideas on your own, you know, just trying to self-generate, you know, but if you start listening or watching something, it can kind of get that engine going, you know, and then you can kind of rebuild and, you know, what they have. So, one another guy I love was Kobe. So he actually quoted Kobe Bryant, big Kobe Bryant fan. He was like, I have stolen all these moves from all these great players. I just tried to do them proud, the guys who came before, because I learned so much from them. It's all in the name of the game. It's a lot bigger than me. So obviously people call Kobe, you know, the guy who was basically trying to be Jordan 2.0. and he mimicked his moves. I mean, there's even video edits on YouTube where you can go there and see him doing almost the exact same fadeaway, the exact same. He sticks his tongue out, the exact same reverse layup. I mean, he's doing everything, But it was all towards him trying to. He also stole moves from Hakeem Olajuwon, and he was trying to like become the best version of him and adapt what he was pulling from other people that made sense for his skill set and his body type. He wasn't, for instance, with Hakeem, he was 7'1", I believe, and then Kobe was 6'7". He's like, I can't be 7'1". I have to do that in my body. so just as an example, that's point number one. Lesson 2. So he says it's okay to procrastinate as an artist. Actually, you should. So productivity and creativity can be challenging. But his whole point was, sudden insights and flashes of genius occur during downtime. When you let your mind wander, it's a good idea to make that downtime part of your routine. And it's kind of, I'm going to do a breakdown of this other book called Rest. And it kind of makes me think about what that book it talks about. But just to kind of give you a little snippet, basically, you can be consciously working on something, but at a certain point, you can only consciously work on it. You can only work on it consciously to a certain point before you start having a negative effect or an adverse effect on your brain. You're not really making any progress. So the idea is to step away, do something boring, taking care of your kids, picking up a hobby, painting, taking a walk, exercising, just doing other kinds of things. Those are just as productive. Things that you don't even think are productive if you kind of let them be. You have your life is you have to think of your life as in totality. Everything affects everything else. Everything is talking to everything else. So even though you're doing something mundane and monotonous that seems like it has zero to do with what you were initially trying to do, in some indirect, subconscious way, your brain is still working on it. Your brain is still putting together those pieces and, connecting those dots while you're changing that diaper or while you're making that bottle. I don't know how that is, but I believe there's science on that. But your subconscious, sometimes you have to kind of just pull away and not think about something. It's almost like there have been times where I'll be working on a problem or thinking about something, trying to solve this issue in my life, and I'll go to bed and I'm laying there and I'm just laying there and I'm not intentionally thinking about it anymore. But for some reason, all these ideas come to my head about the issue. And it was like, it's almost like the more you reach for something, the further away it can get. It's like that toy that's kind of floating away in the pool and you're kind of reaching for it, but the ripples, every time you move towards it, it just keeps getting further and further away. So there are times where sometimes you have to kind of just pull away, not think about it, let it kind of boomerang back to you on its own. And so there's like an ebb and flow in that. There's a real ebb and flow to that. So procrastination is good. That's the point. Okay. All right. And the last point number 3, I kind of reframed as you can be dangerous when you're anonymous. So when no one knows who you are, like me right now with this podcast, there's no pressure. You can be messy and you have a lot of freedom. There's nobody that you have to, there are no managers and producers and this and that and this constituency and this audience and this, there aren't people to please in a way. There's just you, and you can be as edgy or be as what, you can make as, you can be as controversial, you can be whatever you want when no one knows who you are. And there's a lot of value in that. Again, that kind of helps you find you before people find you, and it's easy. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Everybody wants some sort of wants a following and success, and we all have this image in our head of how things should be, or what we would like them to be, or how many followers, or how many listeners, or how many people in the room. We all have some type of idea in our mind, but it's basically, don't despise those small beginnings, the days of small beginnings. I think that's somewhere in the Bible, but yeah, like, just be as dangerous, be as messy, be as sloppy as possible. Not as sloppy as possible, but just let it flow, because you're. I heard somebody say that. I think it was clarity follows action, I believe. So the more action you put in your life to just kind of do it and just let it happen and just experiment, I guess, for lack of a better word, discover yourself. The more action you put towards it, the clearer things will become for you. And like, that's not me. I can't really do that. I don't have the skill set for that. But I can do a little bit of this. I can kind of do that. Maybe I'll tweak that, and then So the more activity you put towards a thing, the clearer that thing becomes, and the clearer it becomes for you. The clearer you are, that mirror becomes less and less foggy, and now you're like, I am kind of like that, but not really. Like, it just gets clear, and you start getting down to the nitty gritty of who you are. But again, when you're anonymous, when no one knows who you are, especially when you're first starting out in any endeavor, any project, any business or whatever, there's a lot of freedom in just experimenting and being messy or silly or whatever. You have to, another book I'm going to do later on, she says, you have to be bad before you can be good. You have to be willing to be bad before you can even think about being good. A lot of times we want to just be good right out the gate. God knows I completely understand. Like, I want to be, I want this thing to sound a certain way and be a certain way. And, you can have analysis by paralysis and never do anything, because it's just not how you see it in your mind. But you have to be willing to be messy, and for it to look, whatever it is, for it to look ugly for a little bit, and be, and not only that, but be okay with it. Be okay with it. Be okay with the fact that, wow, that was really bad. Like, all right, I could have did that a little bit better, and be okay with it, and just kind of play with that phase of your life that you're in, because you won't always have that if you keep at it and stay consistent. And I'm even, like I said, I'm saying these lessons out loud, but I'm speaking it to myself too, because it's still true to me. Like I said, stuff I'm still trying to learn, but I think you should know. But yeah, so those are the 3 lessons, three points. Again, check out that guy's website. It's really great, especially for people who are busy, which is also another part of my audience, people who are busy and got, things to do and don't have time. So like, I'll just recap real quick. Point 1 is you'll find your own style where you fail to imitate your idols or your heroes. Point 2, it's okay to procrastinate as an artist. Actually, you should. And point 3 is you can be dangerous when you're anonymous. So hopefully that's been helpful for you. Like I said, I want to try to make sure that you're getting some kind of value out of your 9 to 5 while you're processing and doing what you do. Check out that website. And yeah, that's about it. I'm going to be signing off here, clocking out. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.